In this episode, I answer a few long-awaiting questions for you, my listeners, and my readers. I also read comments from a survey I ran in a couple of the top business forums. You may be surprised in what people are saying about gas station business. Stay tuned.
Welcome to the one and only Gas Station Business 101 podcast, where you can learn all the secrets about how to start and operate a gas station business successfully and make money. This podcast is brought to you by the good folks at CSB Academy Publishing Company. And now, here is your host, Shabbir Hossein.
Once again, welcome to Gas Station Business 101 podcast. I'm your host, Shabbir Hossein, and this is episode number 34. This is the show where we discuss how to start, run, and grow a gas station business successfully. And I give you the inside look at many real-life case studies so you can follow and become successful in this business. This is a very first episode of its kind where I will be just answering email questions and comments that I've received in last few months. As you recall, in last few episodes, I did not answer any emails because I've decided that from now on, I will do a Q&A session every so often, maybe once a month, maybe a month and a half, depending on how many questions I get from you guys. The emails I will be answering, some of them are month old, some of them are 2 months old. So first, my apology for not answering you any sooner. And the emails that I will not be answering in this episode, I will try to send a text reply via email to you so everybody will have some sort of answer. Unless I don't know the answer. There are questions I have no idea what the answer is. And in that case, I will just say, I don't know. But moving on, there are times I get similar questions from different people. And in those events, I have decided to combine both of those, offer just one answer. So there are times I may not mention many names because, as I said, there are times I've been receiving similar emails from a few people. So in those events, I've decided to just give out one answer that mostly will cover everybody's questions. But feel free to send me email questions at shabbir@gasstationbusiness101.com, or you can post questions on my blog or on my new Facebook group. If you haven't joined that, you can go to Facebook or you can just type in shabbirhossein.net. It will take you straight to my Facebook group. And I'm sure most of you are on Facebook already. So just go ahead and join. That way, any new updates, any information, I will just post it on Facebook. And similarly, you can do the same. If you have a question, if you need to know something right away, you can post your question on Facebook group. And chances are I will get to see it pretty much the same day. Unless I'm out of town or I'm on the road, I would get to see it right away, and I will try to answer you as soon as I possibly can. Let's get started. First question is from K. Patel, and he wrote, Shabbir, I love your podcast show, and I'm getting a lot of new ideas from you. But one question I have after listening to your episode 23 and 29, I was wondering how easy it is to duplicate that kind of success. Thanks a lot. That's what he wrote. The answer to that question, first let me give you an overview of what he's asking. Some of you may not even know what he's talking about. Back in episode 23 and again in 29, I spoke about a real-life gas station business that I helped an investor buy and operate, and I helped them with the marketing plan and the buying process. In that episode 23, where I shared the basics of the store before the investor bought the store, how the store was, what the sales were. And if you haven't heard episode 23, you may want to go back and take a look at the show notes. I have provided some P&Ls to some sales reports and sales data for a few months. And I have created some P&Ls on my own, which I usually do, because when you are looking for a business, though it could be a broker, a seller, they provide you with tons of information. And most of this information are in different type of settings. And what I mean by settings is people use different type of softwares, different type of accounting systems. So these numbers are very hard to play with. So what I usually do is I extract those numbers physically and I create an Excel file so I can see how the numbers are and I can manipulate them in a way where if I want to create a P&L, forecasted P&L, I can do that. So once I extract those numbers and I create a Excel file with it, then I can use that file for different reasons. So I have provided some of those sales data, some of those P&Ls in episode 23, where it shows that the store was not making any money. As a matter of fact, it was losing a few $100s a month, if I recall correctly. And the store was in really bad shape. And when I say really bad shape, meaning the maintenance was a big part of those issues. The store wasn't maintained properly, but there were a lot of good things about that store. The store was in a very good area, very good demographics, meaning the customer base was a mixed customer base with medium income level, which you want to be in. You want to be in an area where people are earning money, but not too much money, because if you're in a very rich neighborhood, those people do not usually come to a gas station to buy their cigarettes or wine or beer. They usually go to grocery stores or some other type of facilities, but gas station buyers are a little bit different. So you want some people that are blue collar to semi-blue collar, in between blue and white collar, and those type of neighborhoods. And in the case of this store, this is where the store was. So after analyzing a lot of the numbers, I suggested to my buyer, that they should go ahead and buy the store, provided that the seller is offering them a good discount. And I gave them some pointers where they can negotiate with the seller based on these issues. And after quite a bit of negotiating, they ended up buying the property at a very decent price. And once they bought it, they invested quite a bit of money improving the site. And there were issues. Patel, if you recall, I mentioned that there were issues in maintenance issues from the floor to the ceiling tiles to the lighting and to roof leak, and many other issues were there. The store was very poorly lit, overgrown trees everywhere. The fuel dispensers were decent, but they needed some work done to them. Especially, I recall, the displays. In every fuel dispenser, there's a display where the gallons showing and how much dollar amount. Most of those, the lights were out, so you can hardly see how much you're pumping versus how many dollar amount it's adding up to, and things of that nature. So we made a big list of things that needs to be done, along with a very good marketing plan, because I knew the store wasn't doing well because they were pricing things wrong. And again, if you guys go and listen to 23, you will see that there were a lot of errors in pricing, especially in the fuel department. They were selling regular at whatever price they were selling, but premium and plus wasn't high enough where it should have been. Let's say if you are buying a gallon of regular gas today at $2 a gallon, your premium price at wholesale, meaning if you are the seller, if you own a gas station, let's say if regular cost you $2 to buy from your job or from your wholesaler, your premium would cost you anywhere from $2.50 to $2.60. So it's about 50 to 60 cents higher than regular fuel. But in this event, in this case, this company, this owner, previous owner, was selling premium at a loss, and plus, which is the mid-grade, at a loss. About 10 to 15 cents loss they were taking on the plus or the mid grade, and the premium they were losing about 20 cents a gallon, if I recall correctly. So anyway, so I realized that these are just oversight. They were not stupid people. They were just too busy. They had other businesses. So it was an oversight. And I figured that anytime you find a store such as this, it's called diamond in the rough, you should take advantage of that. Don't think of it as a rundown store, but instead think of it as an opportunity for you. Because let's say if that store was very clean, floors were nice, lightings were good, pricing were right, and I noticed they were still losing a couple of $100 a month, would I recommend anybody to buy that store? Probably not, because there is not much to do to grow that business, or there is not much things to do to improve that business. But in this case, I saw the weaknesses and the errors that I've seen. To me, those are opportunities. And I suggested to my buyers that think of these as an opportunity for you to grow your business. So when I published episode 29, which was a few months later, and we looked at that business again, and just wanted to give my listeners an overview of what has taken place in 3 months. And the result was that the sales didn't jump really high. Instead, the fuel sale has dropped a little, but the merchandise sales has grown somewhat, but nothing great, meaning they were doing, let's say the store was doing 55,000 or 50,000. It just grew to 60 or 64,000. So it was not a huge jump, but let's say about 15-18% increase when the fuel sales declined by a couple of thousand gallons. But what ended up happening is I fixed those pricing issues. So instead of losing money in the fuel, they made quite a bit of money in fuel. And similarly, on the merchandise side, there was some wrong pricing because they were charging higher price on some cigarettes and very low price on some other cigarettes where they were not being competitive. And customers were complaining that they can go down the road and get a pack of same cigarettes for 70 cents cheaper. So what we had to do is we called in all the tobacco companies, got them into a contract where we can lower the cigarette prices and still make decent profit. And similarly, we re-merchandised the store, we brought in a lot of different new products, and we did some survey the regular customers and asked them point blank, what would you like to see in the store that we don't carry? And if we carry, would you buy them? And different people suggested different things, and we wrote them all down and started bringing those products, and people started getting happy that, hey, I requested something and it's here. So they felt obligated to buy those things. And what ended up happening is the store's cigarette sales jumped along with some other grocery items and drinks and beer. So even though the sale increase wasn't much, but instead of losing $500 to $900 a month, it made a little over $5,000 in the month of March. So that was a jump of about $6,000 from negative to positive, from red to green. And I know the business is growing because since March, I have gone back and looked at it again, and now it's doing even better. The fuel sales have increased more along with the merchandise sales. So maybe in about a month, I will give you guys another update about how the store is doing right now. But again, to answer your question, you asked how easy it is to duplicate that success. If you think about it, it is easy to do that type of success again, but it has to be that perfect mix of situation. Meaning, if you find a store that's been run down, that has not been taken care of, people are not paying attention to how much they're charging for their product, there are mismanagement, there are wrong pricing, there are other type of maintenance issues, the canopy light doesn't work, the store looks very dark, it is dirty, the people are very rude, things of that nature. If you see those type of things, these are opportunities for you. But again, as I said, if you find a store that's not making money, but it looks beautiful, it's clean, it's fully merchandised, people are professional, chances are there is not much of room for you to improve that. Again, on the other hand, what I just said, I will contradict myself, because if you have a beautiful looking store, very clean, professionally merchandised, with good people behind the counter that are very polite and friendly to the customers, there is no reason for you to lose money in a store like that. So I take that back. But again, just think about it. When you find a store, if you see there are issues that are visible, that are anybody with a little bit of knowledge can say or tell that, hey, there are a problem in this store. It's dark at night, or, I can hardly see the pump or what I'm pumping. I can't read the letters. The cigarette prices are very high. Yes, those to you should be the opportunity. And in those are the cases where you can duplicate this success maybe 2 times more in about a year's time. It will not happen over time, but if you give it enough time and keep working at it, you will see success, not just 15% or 10% increase. You will see as high as 30 or 40% increase. Hope I was able to answer your question. Moving on. Second question came from 3 different people. I will read just one question from one person, but I will answer everybody. And this one came from Neil, and he asked, what should be the ideal salary for a store manager of a gas station? And the other 2 questions were similar, but one had a twist. And the twist was, is there a law, some type of labor law, that prohibits you from paying too low of a salary to a gas station manager? Well, the answer is yes, there is a law. There are federal laws and there are local labor laws. I will talk about what the law is in Alabama and in Florida, because I've dealt with this issue before in both of these states. First, let me answer the question, what should be the salary of a gas station manager? Well, it can be what the market will bear. There is not a hard and fast answer to this. There is not a dollar amount answer to this. I cannot tell you to pay your manager $500 a week and she or he will be happy, because depending on your location and depending on the market you're in, whatever the market bears in that area is your salary for the manager. For example, in our area, I have noticed that the typical gas station business owners pay their managers around anywhere from $500 to about $750, plus some added bonuses or other expenses that they pay through the company. So it's just not the salary. There are other things attached to it. For example, if you work for a corporation that owns several stores, they have some benefits that they offer their manager. And I did the same thing, and I have offered a percentage of the profit that the store makes to motivate my managers. And I will not reveal exactly what's the percentage is, but it's quite a bit motivating to see a few $100s at the end of the month if the store has generated some profit. And a lot of the managers learn to work hard and count on that extra income. And I always say that you have to learn how to motivate your employees. If you just give them a straight minimum wage salary or wage, they cannot differentiate your work with just a fast food work or somewhere nearby where they can go and flip burgers, let's say for $7.25. Then if they come to your place, they're not flipping burgers, but they're thinking it's just another job. So I will just ring up the register and get paid at the end of the night or get paid at the end of the week. To make a difference, you need to pay a little bit higher, and this way you get a little more quality people that would value the job, because they know they can just leave this job and go somewhere else tomorrow and get the same money. So you need to make a difference, first of all. And second, if you're looking to hire a manager, have a plan first. Figure out how much you want to pay, and the best way to find out is by searching nearby gas stations, fast foods, or even go to Craigslist and see what people are offering for a managerial position in your area. That way you get an idea. You can also go into a corporate store nearby. I'm sure wherever you are, you have some type of 7-Eleven, Circle K, whatnot, and introduce yourself to the manager. Ask them to give you an idea. Be polite. Explain to them your situation. Most likely they will not give you an exact dollar figure, but they may give you a range that you should be able to pay. Then see if that amount fits with your budget. Then come up with a plan what you will be telling your future manager. How many hours do they need to work? What is expected of them? And if there are going to be other things you will be paying them. For example, if they're driving to and from the bank every day, are you reimbursing their fuel expenses? Then I even offer cell phone bills to my managers because I know that the store calls them all day long. So I offer a flat fee of, say, $50 a month for their cell phone bills. As I said, I offer a commission on top of the profit that the store makes. I share that with the manager. It is called profit sharing. A lot of companies have that. And this is one good way to motivate your managers and employees. And I do not share profit with my employees, but I do offer them sometimes some type of sales goal. If they can reach certain numbers, they get $15, $20, $25 gift cards. Now, moving on to the law part. Here is the law says, if you hire a manager, and let's say your manager works 80 hours a week, but the salary is only $350 a week, then if labor department finds that out, and if they can divide the hours by the dollar that they make and see that it falls below, say, minimum wage, then you're breaking the law. So the law clearly says that if you're paying somebody a salary, it has to be justified with the hours they work. Now, it doesn't apply to the sales jobs. Like, for example, if you're a car salesman, you may be working 80 hours a week, but you're not on salary, you're on commission. So that is different. But for a store manager of a convenience store or gas station or other businesses, it has to justify the hours they work versus how much they get paid. So just keep that in mind. And I'm not suggesting you're paying your employees or your manager $350, but I have dealt with two situations for some clients, and I had to figure that out by talking to a accountant and an attorney, and we figured out that those were the errors and they needed to fix those, and finally they were fixed. But I just wanted to throw that out so you all know that there are certain laws you need to worry about as well. Plus, if you offer too low of salary, you may not get quality people. You may get somebody who has issues, and you may start having theft, you may start having other issues, and the whole morale of the store may go down the drain. So be careful who you hire and at least interview them twice, not just once. Give them some hypothetical questions and ask them in some situations where they dealt with some angry customers or whatnot and how they solved those problems, and just get a feel of the personality of these people and see who would be best suited for your business. Hope I was able to answer your question. Any more question you have on this, please feel free to send me email once again. Moving on. The third question is from CJ and Ahmed. Both asked similar questions, but the gist of it is they both want to know, when looking to find a gas station to buy, should they try to find one that is FSBO or FSBB? What they meant was for sale by owner or for sale by business broker. As one of them is suspicious of going to a broker, he is afraid that they will steer him to the wrong direction or wrong business. Well, not always. A business broker doesn't always send you to the wrong business. Yet they may be motivated to sell one business over the other because one seller may be offering them a little bit more money. But since you're looking at the business, it should be your decision, and they should not just show you one business. They should show you however many business they have that fits your criteria. So once you tell them, hey, I'm looking for this type of business within this type of budget, So bring me whatever you have. They should be able to do that. And they may try to steer you towards one business. As I said, I have dealt with many business brokers in my life. And yes, they usually have some favorites because there are sellers that deal with one broker often, and the broker feels more obligated to sell that seller's business before he sells the other. But it is, as a buyer, your job to figure out which business is the right one for you. But provided the business brokers will always provide you with all the documents that you need. If they don't have it, they will get it from the seller. So even though they may try to steer you towards one business, it is your job to look at all of them and ask for whatever documents you need to ask. Just tell them, I need this from this business, and I need so and such from this business. Let them bring you all those, and you do your due diligence. Then figure out which one you need to make an offer on. On the other hand, if you find a business that is for sale by owner, FSBO, by all means look at it. Sellers do lie as well, so do not think it's just the brokers. If a seller is in dire need to get out of business, he or she may cook up some books even. I have come across a few that has books that didn't match the sales. But that's a different story. But one benefit to buying from an FSBO, means for sale by owner, is you can directly negotiate with the seller without having to tell your broker and then the broker having to go and talk to the seller and then coming back to you. So you don't have to go via, you can go directly. Plus, whatever you need, you can sit right in his store, tell them, this is what I need and I want to see this, I want to see that. And if you can produce that, give it to me, let me look at it. And you can sit there, watch the business. Not to mention, the price may be a little bit lower because a broker usually takes, let's say, 10% or 15% of the sales. So whenever a seller is ready to sell a business, let's say the seller wants to sell a business for $100,000. If they're offering it to you through a broker, then he automatically adds $15,000 to $20,000 on top of that, knowing that once he sells the business, he will have to pay up that $10,000 or $15,000 to the broker. So where is that money coming from? It is coming from your pocket. It is just added to the price of the business. So if you find a business for sale by owner, by all means look at it. If you like it, you can negotiate directly. Plus, you get it a little bit cheaper than if you would have bought the same business through a broker. Moving on to the next question. This question came from a person named Jenny, and she asked, I enjoy your podcast show. One quick question as we're trying to decide what brand of station we should look for. We like both Exxon and Shell brand. But is one better than the other? If so, why? That is her question. Soon I will have an episode all about branding. Unbranded versus branded. I know there are a lot of questions about branded station versus unbranded station and stations that are branded, which one is a better brand? Jenny, the way I would answer your question is, if you are located in a city or in a rural area, wherever you are, go out, take a look and see what brand do you see more in your area. Let's say some areas are Shell-dominated areas. There are Exxon-dominated areas. There are BP-dominated areas. Typically, you will see every city has at least one or two dominant brand, and then the others are not so dominant. So if you're looking at Exxon and Shell, my question is, which one is dominant in your area? Drive around, take a look, and you might be surprised. It may not be one of these two brands. It may be a third one. Maybe Mobil, maybe BP. I'm not sure. I don't live in your area. But my suggestion is, and always will be, go with the dominant brand in your area. If there are two of them, then you can go with either based on your location. Let's say your city has two dominant brand, like you said, Shell and Exxon. Now, if you're asking me which one should you go with, provided both are very dominant in your area, I would say If you're looking at a specific store to buy or to brand, you need to drive 2 to 3 mile radius from that location and see how many of those dominant brands are around you. Let's say you have a store and you drive 2 miles around your store and you see there are 2 Shell stations and 1 Exxon station. Then naturally, I would say go with Exxon brand if that is the farthest from you. But then again, if the only Exxon within 2 mile radius is very close to you, then I would not go with that because you don't want to have two of the same type of brand next to each other. But there are some legal and company rules that come into play. For example, if there is a Exxon station, let's say across the street, and you're trying to brand your station Exxon, chances are Exxon will not approve your site to be branded as Exxon because then they're competing with each other and they want to protect their brand. So there is a rule in every company that they say either it's a mile to 2 mile to 3 mile, depending on the population of the city. They protect their own brand and their dealers and their stores. So those are the factors that come into play before you decide which brand you want to go with. But my advice once again would be go out there, drive around, see how many of what brand you see. You may want to write them down, take a look and figure out who's the most dominant brand. The only reason I would like to go with the dominant brand in one area is because of their credit card base. So if Exxon is the dominant brand in your area, that means a lot of the people, a lot of the neighborhood people, the population of that city are carrying Exxon branded card. And you want to tap into that market. But similarly, or not so similarly, I will bring in another example. In our city, there were not very many Exxons. And a friend of mine built a store and they wanted to brand that Exxon because Exxon worldwide is a very dominant brand. Even in the US is a very dominant brand. But in our area, Shell and Chevron were more dominant than Exxon. So they decided to brand it with Exxon. And they did very well because the travelers, the store is an area where a lot of travelers come through from different states. And a lot of these people carry Exxon branded card. So his business started doing very well and he tapped into that market because all these travelers that are carrying Exxon card came to his store. So as you can see, there are a lot of different answers to this question and it is unique for every different store. I hope I was able to shed some light on your thought process. If you need any more help, please do not hesitate to email me back. Next question came from David. He writes, after looking at your sample business plan from your site, I noticed you showed moderate profit increase in your projected P&L. I want to show much higher profit, but I wanted to verify is higher the better or am I wrong? David, always remember the business plan that you're writing or you're about to write, you will be submitting that to a loan officer. And these people have very strong accounting background. So they can read through and tell you if a projected P&L makes sense or not. So keep that in mind when creating your P&Ls. It is also a good idea to get help from an accountant. Or you can create your own, but run it by an accountant the first time or the second time before you become a pro in this subject. Because always remember, you don't get to make the first impression twice with your loan officer. So the first impression has to be a good one. But now let me flip the coin and tell you about something I have seen and dealt with many years ago. We found a station that the person who was running for many years has ran a beautiful operation. Then the person got sick and his son took over and the business pretty much just went down the drain because the kid didn't know what he was doing. If I remember correctly, the sales went from $2,000 average a day to about $500 a day because the store was pretty much empty when we found the store. And again, this is one of those diamond in a rough. When I wrote a business plan for that store, I wrote a projected P&L that the store would have a 400% increase in sales. And I justified it with some previous records from the father's time of running the store. I had some of those data. So I showed the bank that it was doing that, and we can go back to doing that as long as we rectify whatever is wrong with that store. So the projected P&L did show a 400-fold increase, and the bank bought it. They said, yes, it can be done. So when you're making a projected P&L, look at the store right now and see how it is operating. Is it one of those that used to do very well? It has gone down, not because of any other external factors other than some internal issues. If that is the case, you can point out those errors and say, yes, I can rectify point 1 through 7 and my sale would be right here. You can do that. But it has to justify. You can't just make up numbers because the banker, the loan officer, sees business plan every day. They know what a projected P&L is. So if somebody's showing them a P&L that the store is making $2,000 for last 2 years, a month, $2,000 a month, for example. And now, once I take over, my projected P&L says I will be making $20,000 a month. They know that this is not usually possible. So you're creating a bad first impression. So be realistic and make sure the numbers do make sense for you, for your accountant, and possibly for the banker. Hope I was able to answer your question. Okay. Since we're passing pretty much the 35-minute mark, I will stop answering questions for today because I don't want the episode to go longer than an hour. I will try to keep it under an hour because I know your time is valuable and I don't want to waste time more than an hour. And I appreciate the time you're giving me anyway. So the second part of the show was we're going to talk about the survey I ran. And this is not something that you're going to learn from, but these are comments that I would like for you to hear as far as what people think about gas station business that are not in this business. So I will read the 5 questions I asked in those business forums. Number 1 question I asked, do you think gas station business is a good business to get into? If the answer is no, then can you suggest a type of business you think people should get into? Number 2, how much money do you think it takes to get into a gas station business? Number 3, do you think life expectancy of a gas station business is longer than many other retail businesses? Number 4, what do you think is the biggest obstacle about getting into a gas station business? And number 5, if you have the funds, if you have the money and you're looking to get into a business, would you consider buying a gas station business? If the answer is no, what business would you buy? And here are some of the answers. Before I answer, I want to thank everybody on both of these forums for answering these questions. I know they have taken their valuable time to answer a lot of these questions, and I have received over 50 answers. I will not go through all of them, but I will pick out a few that I think is worth mentioning right here in this episode. And the first one I will read is from Harold, and these are the answers are from smallbusinessforum.net. Harold, thanks to Harold, he took his time, he quoted every question and then put the answer right below it. So once again, I will read the question. Do you think gas station business is a good business to get into? If the answer is no, then can you suggest a type of business you think people should get into? His answer, of course, it is with the right location and good management. I like the combo stations that have convenience stores and 1 or 2 fast food restaurants connected to them. There are few in my area on busy corners and they're jam-packed all the time. Something curious is that there are no real service stations anymore. one that also services vehicle for minor repairs, oil change, and so on, wondering if that's just unsustainable or just a lack of qualified mechanics to work them. Number 2, how much money do you think it takes to get into a gas station business? He wrote, I have no idea. Number 3, do you think life expectancy of a gas station business is longer than many other retail businesses? His answer is, not necessarily. I have seen stations close. Again, location and management. Not much you can do if the neighborhood goes to crap and people start moving away, or if you are not on a main traffic artery. Number 3, what do you think is the biggest obstacle about getting into a gas station business? His answer is money and experience to run it, just like every business. That is so true. Number 5, if you have the funds and are looking to get into a business, would you consider buying a gas station business? If the answer is no, what business would you buy? His answer, no, because it is not a business I know nor I'm interested in. I would start a business doing the things I already know or have had interest in for a long time. I know the web, hospitality like bars, restaurant, games, music, and customer service. Pretty much everything I try to get into has something to do with one of those others. Just choosing something to start a business doesn't even cross my mind. Seems like a recipe for instant failure. Starting a business isn't like picking out a shirt to wear for that day. Very well said. Thanks once again, Harold, for answering. The second answers are from somebody, Bob Job. And since you already know the questions, I will just read the answers that he gave. Number 1, he answered, I believe it is a good business if you're in good location. I would always be worried about the tanks, especially replacing them. It must be expensive. Number 2, he answered yes. Number 3, depends on many factors. Number 3, as long as the area you're in doesn't go down the hill, I believe it would be stable. Number 4, no experience in the field. Number 5, probably not. I might consider going with someone who had experience with them. Next answers came from Plan to Succeed. And he writes, hey, I hope I can help. Here are my answers. Number 1, again, do you think gas station business is a good business to get into? He writes, yes, if you are in a great high traffic area in place where demand is high, along the highway or in a subdivision, etc. Number 2, how much money do you think it takes to get into a gas station business? His answer is $250,000 liquid. This is just a guess. Number 3, do you think the life expectancy of a gas station business is longer than many other retail businesses? His answer is, if it is a great area, the gas station can last as long as the city it's in. Number 4, what do you think the biggest obstacle about getting into a gas station business? His answer is, biggest obstacle is not having a blueprint for the business. If you don't have a mentor that's already in the gas station business, then it can be very difficult. Number 5, if you have the funds and you're looking to get into a business, would you consider buying a gas station business? His answer is no. I like virtual businesses the best. And the last one I will read from this forum is from a person called Turbo Guy. His answers are, I see different formats for gas station as you're calling it. The most common is what I would call a convenience store. That is about 80% of what I see. Another 10% sells gas and do all changes, light repairs, towing, and etc. I see a very few who just sell gas and maybe a few sundry items. I'm guessing you're thinking more about what I would call a convenience store rather than what you're calling a gas station. The failure rate of a gas station seems to be very low, considering new business have a very high failure rate, and that is a good sign. I do think location is important and having a good inventory of snacks, bread, and other items. Cleanliness is important as well. Most seem to stay in business and to have a decent income. With gas station/repair shops, they also seem fairly stable, even though it is a declining market. I do think the ones that are successful do make pretty good money, but I think it is more on repairs than gas. Someone does need to be mechanically inclined and not worried about getting their hands dirty. With the few I see that just pump gas, they seem the most likely to go out of business and don't seem real prosperous. I do see one that does that seem to do well. The place is totally unmanned. Price their gas a few cents cheaper and you have to pay at the pump with a credit card. I have only seen one like that and it does seem to be very busy. Back decades ago when I was around 20, my dad and I did come very close to going into a gas station business. I have no idea if it would have been worked out well or not. A few of the promotions that I have seen some local stations to that seem to work are: one offered a free 12-ounce cup of coffee with a fill-up. Being a coffeeholic always appealed to me. Another local station is the only one that is not a self-fill. They have the same price for gas as everyone else, but have an attendant that pumps the gas for you. They're always lined up with cars, so the cost would not be much and many would rather have the better service at the same price. It seems to work for them. Well, those were the answers from one forum. And to summarize this, any of these three answers that I read, they're not in gas station business, but they all seem to think that this is a business that doesn't fail too often. And remember, this Turbo guy didn't exactly answer every question like everyone else did, but he gave some very valuable pointers. One is about promotion. He's a coffee drinker. He said he goes to one store because they offer free coffee with a fill-up. A cup of coffee costs you only 25 cents, maybe 20 cents. But see, you gained a customer from this. And another thing he said, which I have been thinking about, is the full-service gas stations are going away. When I say full service, I don't mean all change, tires replace and all that. I'm talking about where an attendant will fill up your tank, check your oil level, and if they need to, they will fill all that up. In our city, there is only one station that offers that, and they charge about 25 cents more each gallon than any other stations. But there are some people that always go there and fill up their tanks because there are people that do not know how to open the hood and check their oil level, for example. I know my wife doesn't. So for her, it would be beneficial if she thinks she has a problem with her car where there are oil leaks or some other deals. They can go to this station, fill up their tank, make sure that oil level is good, make sure the water level is good, make sure the windshield washer fluids are filled, and they don't mind paying 25 cents extra. See, this is a business model we need to bring back. And that is why I think Turbo Guy said a lot of good things about that. And in his city, he said that store is always lined up with cars as well. Well, let's go to the other forum and read a couple of more questions. The other forum I posted is called fatwallet.com. It has a very good business forum. And I have about 35 comments on that forum, but I will just read a few. One comment that I want to read to you because it's fascinating. It's a person named Lone Star Guy. I take it he's from Texas, and he sent me something with a picture that says, there is a lot of risk if you have a single store. In my area, there is a chain of convenience stores that has locations with 120 gasoline pumps and low prices. It also has 83 toilets, 31 cash registers, 4 IC machines, and 80 fountain dispensers. Imagine having that competitor move in all of a sudden. Even if you don't, it can have long hours and you always on the risk of theft and robbery. Now, think for a second. There are stores in parts of Texas. I believe he's talking about a chain store in parts of Texas that are called Buc-ee's. And they usually have stores that are really, really that big. Like he said, it has 120 fuel dispensers. That is 120 pumps. Can you imagine? Most of stores that we see around us has usually 4 to 8, maybe 10 as high as 12 MPDs or multi-fuel dispensers, multi-product dispensers rather. But this one has 120, so it's a Texas-sized gas station. Yes, it would not be a good idea to have a store near that type of stores. The next answer came from a person named Codename 47, and he writes, I have actually evaluated a few and looked at purchasing one, but I passed. One major general issue you're going to face is dealing with business valuation and brokers that are probably not going to be very ethical or honest and will tend to cook the books on the actual revenue/cost numbers. Even then, if the numbers are actually accurate, some people have a really inflated, absurd concept of how to value a business, and that can make it hard to buy a gas station at a good price. I would prefer something a little less time consuming, like a coin laundry. He also writes, I think it can be a good business overall, but if you're going to spend a lot of time and upfront cost getting one going, I would rather go the route of getting a 7-Eleven franchise going, which can be done at a much lower cost and probably lower risk overall. I also asked, is it a good and profitable business model? He answers, it can be. Location matters a great deal, as well as hiring quality employees, which is probably why people often run them as family business. And then I asked, if not, what would be a best retail business to get into? And his answer is, there is no best retail business to get into. Retail is getting murdered by the advent of internet. Well, he is right. Retail overall is getting killed by internet, but not every retail. I believe I mentioned this on many episodes ago, where there are some business that cannot be done over the internet. For example, gas station convenience stores. You cannot buy gasoline over the internet. You cannot buy a pack of cigarette over the internet. You cannot buy a 6-pack beer over the internet. So there are some fundamental differences. Yes, you can buy a pair of socks, shirts, shoes, and whatever and whatnot. You can even now order groceries online. But when it comes to your everyday needs like fuel, milk, cigarettes, beer, those are the things you still have to go to a corner mini mart, a gas station, a convenience stores, or one of these grocery stores that has one of those gas stations in front of them. Another person writes, his name is Glitch99. He says, I would say the barrier to enter this business is rather high. You can't just give a vacant building a quick facelift and have a new gas station. It requires significant investment. The biggest negative is the time required. You can't make the investment, then sit back and collect your returns. You are essentially buying a job, and one where your salary can only vary widely due to the most significant shifts in a local demographics. Well, he's right. But again, if you hire good people that you can depend on and pay them well, you can do this business somewhat passive way. I have done it for many years, and I've seen many people that do the same. Another person writes, the good locations are usually always taken and likely aren't for sale. There was actually a location by me where they put a brand new freeway off-ramp high school, Target, good-sized shopping center, hospitals, lots of housings and apartments. But all over the course of 5 years, it had no gas stations. Like the closest one was the next exit a couple of miles down. I had often thought it would be a perfect spot. Last year, they opened a Arco AM/PM store, and it is always 30 to 40 cents more than any other stations nearby. So I guess there are locations that would be good, but not very many. Lastly, I will read one more answer from the person named Codename 47. He writes, convenience stores can be good, but the whole thing with selling gas is that it is a loss leader, essentially, or more accurately, a minimum profitable line that may cover the rent and not much more. Gas is what will get more people through the door to the store, of which some lesser percentage will go inside for gas station type items. Very true that actual profit comes from inside sales, such as ATM, lottery, and others, which can be significant, $2,000 to $5,000 a month, cigarette, beer, snacks, etc. I just see this as a major time suck working the most dangerous job in the United States from a robbery perspective. And you absolutely can make money at it, but you're going to earn every penny from a stress perspective. Well, he's talking about the risk and the time we put into this business to get it going. But I do believe once you get a business set up the proper way and put the right people behind the counter and just monitor the store, the business, and work on it, not in it, you need to look at it from a broader picture and manage it in a way where you're not micromanaging every aspect of the business. Instead, you're managing the people that are managing your store. And that way, you can grow bigger and not have just one store. You can have multiple stores. There are companies that run 10, 15, 20, 30 stores, and they're very successful. So you have to think big in order to grow big. Well, we're crossing the 1 hour mark already, which I wasn't planning on doing, so my apology. But I wanted to thank everybody at fatwallet.com for sending out and writing all those answers, the valuable input that we wanted to share. And I believe you get an idea what people think and see and view gas station business who are not in this business. Once again, thanks for sending me all the questions that I answered, and I know I didn't get to answer many more, so there will be another episode of Q&A soon in about next 3 to 4 weeks, and I will start answering more questions then, and I will try to keep them short. I know I went over time on a couple of the questions when I was answering. Now, as far as books, I haven't had a chance to read much of anything lately, so no books this week. Once again, if you haven't signed up for my very important newsletter yet, please feel free to do so by going to gasstationbusiness101.com/subscribe. And I promise you, I will not sell you anything other than sending you some valuable information time to time. Take care, everyone, and I will see you in next episode.
This has been the one and only Gas Station Business 101 podcast with your host, Shabbir Hossein. This podcast was brought to you by CSB Academy Publishing Company. Be sure to join us next time as we share with you the secrets about how to start and operate a gas station business successfully and make money.